it's me. As always, I would like to invite any artists out there to grab a sketchbook, some snacks, a beverage, or just something else that will help you unwind and relax while I showcase these speed drawings from my caricature illustrations of Shane Dawson and Ryland Adams for today's video. And if you're new and if you've been looking for like kind of a chill place to hang out and like eat snacks and make art and stuff, well, we talk about internet stuff that doesn't get too deep or too serious usually. I think you found the right place. You should subscribe if you wanna. Feel free to follow me on Instagram or Twitter and share what you made with me as well. As we draw and hang out today, we will be once again discussing Shane Dawson, Ryland Adams, and Shane's return that has already happened but has gone under the radar. We will also talk about how people are welcoming Shane back with open arms and how others are still basically begging him to stay off the internet forever. And also how Shane, as a topic, has made a cameo in the Philip DeFranco show for the first time in a long time. Before jumping in, shameless self-promo. I paint cats and dogs and other pets and animals as my day job. So if anyone is considering a commission, especially for a Christmas gift, now is the best time to head over to my Etsy shop and snag a spot on my wait list before it fills up. I will be taking way less work this year than previous years because now I'm doing YouTube regularly and because I am now the proud mother of a baby person. Also, it is almost Inktober and I'll be participating, and I really want to strongly recommend Inktober to you guys, my fellow artists, even if it is just like a daily doodle, something super quick, like 5 minutes, that maybe you do along with me to my videos. I will be posting my Inktober drawings here on YouTube, and if you want to be held accountable for your daily artwork, you can do your doodles along with my daily Inktober videos. And here are the official prompts for Inktober 2021. I will be posting my own Inktober drawings every day in October while talking about all sorts of topics like YouTube drama, my personal ghost stories, Etsy Karen customers, Reddit, TikTok drama, and all sorts of stuff. And don't worry, I will also be posting regular content as well, so don't worry about that. Traditionally, Inktober rules state that your drawings should be made traditionally using only black and white ink, but it seems to actually be a lot more open, allowing digital art, which is what I will be doing, use of color and other mediums. So if you aren't subscribed already, then this should be a perfect opportunity if my charming personality already wasn't enough. I will also be uploading my Inktober drawings to my Patreon as downloadable coloring pages. So if you don't want to do your own drawings, you can still paint or color my drawings instead. And those will be on my Patreon, which is accessible for $1 a month. Everything, as always, is linked down in the description below, and let's get started with the video already. So, Shane Dawson has already made his return, but it's flying under the radar because of all the videos and clickbait thumbnails that have been flooding YouTube over the last 2-ish years. Videos with titles like Shane Dawson's Return, featuring clips from his every move on the internet, from liked tweets to tagged photos to Instagram stories, merch launches, all the way up to bigger things like YouTube community posts on his main channel, off-screen vlog cameos on Ryland's channel, and now recently participating in a moving series on Ryland's channel, and finally guest starring on Ryland's latest vlog on the SIP, which I will be diving into here in a minute. Shane has appeared on Ryland's podcast earlier on this year, maybe it was last year, but Shane was not in the thumbnail, he was not in the title, and this time it seems like this whole video is like about Shane Dawson in the title, in the thumbnail, the whole thing. But it's no secret that Shane has been slowly making his way back to the internet, taking tiny little steps, little bits at a time, not to make too big of a splash, but I think we're already here. Like, I think this is his return. And nobody's really making a huge deal out of it because it's not a main channel video. But who says that his return was ever going to be a main channel video? I don't think anybody's ever said that. And who's to say we're ever going to get another main channel video? Based on what Shane and Ryland were talking about in the podcast, kind of listening between the lines, it seems like Shane isn't even sure if he's going to make a YouTube comeback, let alone he's not even sure what kind of content he would even be making. When he talks about it, he's been keeping things really loose and ambiguous, saying he's definitely interested in making horror films, which he's written 2 scripts for apparently, but he's unsure about the YouTube content thing. He says that he's open to letting inspiration hit him, and he's willing to see what happens since he loves creating and editing content. But maybe that content will just end up manifesting into indie movies or television scripts, maybe even under a pseudonym or something. And maybe he will just get his YouTube fix from continuing to edit Ryland's content and appearing in his vlogs and podcasts. We never know. Maybe we'll find out sometime, but I don't know. But my point is, whatever happens, I doubt it's going to create huge headlines or anything like that. I think the hype and the anti-hype has definitely died down, and only a small group of people are really continuing to follow along closely to Shane and Ryland's online lives. And by a small group, I mean compared to the amount of people subscribed to Shane, or the amount of people who have been subscribed to Shane. As Philip DeFranco said in his PDS featuring Shane, the like to dislike ratio and comments under the recent Shane and Ryland content together seem to be overwhelmingly positive, and they are getting hundreds of thousands of views. But what would those stats look like if all 20 million Shane subscribers had their say? It might not look as good on the like to dislike ratio for sure. I also want to go into the content of the latest The Sip podcast a bit more and summarize what happened and talk about what they talked about. Shane ultimately did talk about how he dealt with his cancellation, never explicitly saying those words per se, cancellation, but he referenced to that time in his life as the last 2-ish years of his life. Shane dove into his mental health struggles and how it affected Ryland and how it affected their family, and kind of drove everyone through the mud with all of that. And at one point, the cast of The Sip started making really dark jokes about notes, but that soon turned into a serious conversation about how Shane has actually written multiple. And he was in a very bad place at one point during the past 2 years, where he said the next morning he was happy that he had woken up and he was happy that he was still there. The Sip co-host Lizzie Gordon elaborated on that point when she said that she related to that, but wanted to make it known that if you ever feel like you're in that really dark place or have a really dark feeling, it will pass and everything will feel okay again, and you will be happy again, and everything gets better. Even Ryland during this conversation was especially emotional when Shane was talking about his mental health struggles, but ultimately, both Shane and Ryland disclosed that they are both seeing therapists, and in the end, I think it's a healthy choice for anyone to become aware about how their struggles are affecting them and the people around them, and making the decision to seek help and seek therapy. I think that's always going to be a great example to set. And do we know what topics of conversation happen during these therapy sessions? Not really, but I know a lot of people are probably hoping that they talked about the wildly inappropriate humor that Shane used in his now deleted videos, and how that humor is always indefensible and unforgivable. It still wouldn't be a bad thing for Shane to try to understand that inappropriate behavior in therapy, but again, it isn't anybody's business except for Shane and his therapist regarding what happens during those therapy sessions. Shane also stated in the podcast that he's truly happy now after everything, after moving, after going to therapy, and after getting diagnosed with and treating his OCD, and ultimately is looking forward to the future and just enjoying being happy. As I mentioned before, they all eventually talk about what type of content Shane will come back with, and nobody knows what that might be, not even Shane and Ryland. Lizzie did throw out the idea of making a short 3-minute movie, which Shane entertains the idea of, but at the end of the day, it's still unknown. We all like to speculate, even I just did that in my last Shane video, which I recommend watching if you haven't already, but nobody will ever really know, especially if Shane still doesn't even know. Again, looking at the connections Philip DeFranco made in his last PDS, although Shane and Ryland's video ratings are massively supportive, an Insider article released a poll showing Shane's favorability has declined, which we do see with people voicing their opinions about Shane Dawson on Twitter and Reddit, making it kind of their mission to remind people why Shane was booted off the internet in the first place. His of children, jokes that involved real children as participants to the joke, which arguably makes them no longer jokes, but just straight up that should be handled legally. So again, what's your stance on this whole thing? Let me know what you think. Leaving comments really helps me out as a small creator. And if you have made some artwork with me, as always, I would love to see it by tagging me on Instagram or Twitter at paintandsipyt. I got a lot of positive and negative feedback about my new layout that I used in my last 2 or 3 videos. And so I decided to consult with the only Gen Z that I know, my little sister. So I asked her what she thinks about it, and I told her, I was like, the reason why I liked my new layout is because it's bright, it's white. I'm a very light mode kind of person when it comes to like Reddit and Twitter, which my sister told me that is very unpopular and not a lot of people are light mode people. So we're going back to having my illustration fill the whole screen. It's dark, but I guess that's what you guys like. So we're going back for now. Let me know what you think about that. Remember to subscribe and participate in Inktober with me starting October 1st. And I hate outros, so okay, bye.